All right, welcome to The Explainer. Now, when it comes to Donald Trump, you've heard all the opinions, right? But what about the hard facts? Today, we're going to push aside the rallies and the rhetoric and actually investigate the official paper trail. We're talking voter logs, canceled checks, and his own words. And let me tell you, they tell a story that might completely surprise you. Let's just start with one question. The answer, which is pulled directly from the public record, is so unexpected that it basically challenges the entire political narrative he would build for himself years later. Think of it like a key, one that unlocks a totally different version of his political story. Yep, you heard that right. In a 2008 interview, he actually endorsed his future political arch-nemesis, Hillary Rodham Clinton. And look, that's not just some random, out-of-context soundbite. It's really the first clue in a very long paper trail that leads to a pretty shocking documented truth. So, how is that even possible? To figure that out, you really have to tune out all the noise and just follow the evidence. So let's start with the most basic document there is, his official voter registration. This wasn't just a brief flirtation or, a mistake on a form. For 8 straight years, and think about this, that's through the entire George W. Bush presidency and into the start of Obama's, the official record shows Donald Trump was a registered Democrat. So when you actually look at this timeline, what you see is, well, it's a stunning amount of political zigzagging. He switched parties 5 times. But notice, the longest, most consistent stretch of his political life after he first registered. It wasn't as a Republican, it was his 8 years as a registered Democrat. But being a Democrat wasn't just about putting a name on a voter form for him. His Democratic identity was backed up by his most powerful tool, his checkbook. And when you follow the money, the story gets even clearer. The financial records, they tell an even more compelling story. For over 20 years, between 1989 and 2010, the majority of his political cash went straight to the Democrats. For all intents and purposes, his checkbook was blue. And we're not talking about small change here. Look at the sheer scale of this. We're talking about nearly $700,000 flowing from Trump and his businesses directly into the Democratic Party's pockets. This wasn't just hedging his bets. This was a serious financial investment in their political success. So who was cashing these checks? Well, get this. The list of people he was funding reads like a who's who of the very Democratic establishment he would later build a career on attacking. We're talking the Clintons, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid. He was literally bankrolling the architects of the modern Democratic Party. And it wasn't just the party bigwigs. The financial records show something even more ironic. He was also cutting checks to his own future political opponents. No, you're not seeing things. The records show direct contributions to Kamala Harris for her Attorney General campaigns and to Joe Biden for his Senate run. The irony here is just unbelievable. The guy who would later lead Lock Her Up chants and attack Sleepy Joe was at one point one of their financial backers. So, okay, we've got the party registration, we've got the money, but it goes even deeper. It was ideological. When you look at what he was actually saying and writing during this blue era, you find a policy platform that wasn't just democratic. In a lot of ways, it was openly liberal. Let's take healthcare, right? A huge issue. In his own book, he wrote that the country must have universal coverage. And he didn't stop there. He actually praised Canada's single-payer system, arguing that it helped Canadians live longer and healthier than Americans. I mean, that's not a Republican talking point, that's a progressive one. Okay, how about abortion? Another political lightning rod. Well, his position back then was crystal clear. In a 1999 interview on national TV, he didn't mince words at all. He said, flat out, I am very pro-choice, and even said he would not support a ban on partial birth abortion. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. From declaring himself very pro-choice on national television to becoming the president whose Supreme Court picks were the ones who dismantled Roe v. Wade, you'd be hard-pressed to find a more dramatic political 180 in modern American politics. And this pattern, it just keeps going. Take gun control. In his book, he supported a ban on assault weapons and longer waiting periods. He even went after Republicans for walking the NRA line. I mean, he was using the exact language of a Democratic critic, not someone who'd one day be endorsed by the NRA. And maybe the most shocking quote of all, especially for a future Republican leader, came when he was sitting down with Wolf Blitzer on CNN back in 2004. He said it plainly. It just seems the economy does better under Democrats.
He even praised the Bill Clinton years, which just completely undermines decades of Republican economic belief.
So that's the big question, right? What on earth happened? How does a pro-choice, pro-universal healthcare, NRA-bashing, Democrat-funding New Yorker become the absolute leader of the MAGA movement? What caused this massive shift?
Well, when you look at the timeline, the reversal is just incredibly precise. The pivot starts almost the exact moment Barack Obama takes office. He leaves the Democratic Party, and by 2011, he becomes the loudest and most prominent voice of the birther movement, a move that instantly made him a hero to the GOP's new Tea Party base. And really, that seems to be the calculation he made. The birther stuff slammed the door shut on his life as a Democratic-friendly celebrity, but it kicked open a much, much bigger door, right into the heart of a Republican Party that was just primed for a hostile takeover. So when you lay it all out, the registration, the checks, his own words, the picture becomes incredibly clear. The conclusion is inescapable. This blue era wasn't some kind of footnote in his life, it was a defining chapter. By every single measurable standard of the time, he was a Democrat. And all of this leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question. Was this journey from praising Hillary Clinton to leading chance against her a genuine, heartfelt political evolution? Or was it the ultimate business transaction, a strategic rebranding to acquire the most powerful office in the world? The record is all there. The conclusion is yours.